Welcome back. It's the GameChanger. So, in today's tutorial, we have my boy MYQUON. He drove all the way up here from Houston, Texas to get this haircut, which I thought was pretty dope. Anytime someone takes a long drive to get a haircut from me, I think it's about there and back. It's about 600, 700 miles from where I'm at. So I think it's really dope. He's cutting off his twist. He has a natural style, and he wants to get a high taper, and he wants the top to match the size. So what I did was cut it down to about a 2. I think he wants to grow his hair out even. So, and he's getting a high taper. I don't know if I stated that already. So a few things we're going to discuss, a few issues, not issues that I ran into, but a few things hurdles we're going to jump over. MYQUON, for his edge up, he has his temporal muscles on the side of his temple are large. So what that means is it kind of protrudes from that forehead region or the parietal ridge. So sometimes what happens when I know you've had those clients, we call them muscle heads, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just a phrase, a term that we use. But when you're edging them up across the front and you get to those corners where the vertical lines meet, it's kind of an indentation or a cavern. So what we want to do is figure out how do we work around that without pushing the edge up back or making the edge up look funny. So that's a few things. Also, what I love about MYQUON's hair texture is it's an everyday hair texture. It's one of the main hair textures you'll see coming to the barbershop. Super dope. One thing I do love about his hair is that he maintained it very well. Some issues that I would say we ran into is his hair is not very dense. He has thick hair follicles, but the density, how much hair per square inch, is not very dense. So when you have hair that's very dark, very strong, and not very dense, it can look very spacey. If you look around his edge up, their hair looks a bit spacey. So you want to figure out how to taper it. Even like if you look in the back, right? You'll see it more as we start the haircut, but we want to figure out ways to alleviate that. So those are some things that I'll touch on. As of now, what we're doing is that purple guard that you see there is a 2 guard. I'm cutting it down to a 2 to make it even with everything else. Those clippers that I'm using are the Ergo Gamma solid clipper. I like them. They're decent. Now, see, look behind his ear. You see those spacey areas? It's just not very dense. So we don't want to use it as an excuse. We want to find a way to, when we get this final finished look on his haircut, how do we make this look very sharp, fresh, and clean? All right, so another hard thing, MYQUON had a hard line between his long hair and his short hair, meaning I have to find a way to blend it in. Usually I'll use like a little filler guard. I'll take a tool, go with the grain, something to buffer that space to make it look all even. Now I'm going to wash his hair. Again, we want to curl that hair up, make it revert back to its normal state. Although he did a really good job of maintaining his hair's health during the long hairstyle, still want to wash it. Water always creates reversion. I don't know if I made that word up, but it sounded super smart, so I said it. But yeah, the hair reverts back to its natural state. Once we get them washed up, it's going to be time to start that taper. All right, so now after we give him a really good wash, what we want to do is towel dry his hair. We don't want to blow dry it because it makes the hair poofy. It doesn't lay the hair down. When you let the hair air dry and you kind of remove some of that dampness with the towel, it lays down in styles as you cut. I can comb it to kind of manipulate the hair to lay it down. So that's the tip. I never really blow dry. I never blow dry, actually, not really. I never blow dry after I wash. Now that we got that done and the hair is clean, the scalp is nice and fresh, what I want to do now is start that back taper. So I'm going to teach this tutorial as though you've never watched any of my content. So I start with the primary line. I do like a 2-line 4-section method or 4-step method. This is the primary line. Then right now I'm creating a secondary line about 1 inch up. I'll take a clipper, I'll open my lever all the way. I say a clipper because we all don't have the same tools. And I open it, take it about 1 inch up, and I create a secondary line. The primary line separates the skin from the hair. The secondary line creates the light from the dark, or the light from the thick hair. Then what I'll do is, that primary section is the light hair. The secondary section is a dark hair. So if a primary line, secondary line, primary section, secondary section. I break it up because the more you thin the hair out, the easier it is for you to create transitions or fades. So I try to teach a method to make the job easier, even for myself and for you as well. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking it and I'm blending this primary line into the primary section. So you see I'm taking this line away and I'm just blending it into the section. I'm not taking their hair away, I'm just doing a blending effect. Then after I do that, what I do next is I debulk that secondary section before I blend in or connect this section to the secondary line. If you didn't understand that, rewind. I try to talk slower so you can kind of get it. So you can see me use the comb. Now what I'm doing right now is debulking that section. So I'm debulking the line and the hair within 1 inch or 2 within that line. Why? Because the lighter the area, the easier to fade. If I was to try to start to blend this secondary section without taking some bulk or some mass or some density out of that line, it'll be very hard to create a smooth transition, and I'll find myself chopping the fade up or taking that line higher. So I start with a 1.5 guard, which is the white guard, to take some mass out or to debulk. Then I'll take more mass out with my 1 guard, which is what you see me have here, and I debulk step by step until I feel that that line is thin enough, that secondary line right there, to create a smooth transition with no guard. Like I said, it all makes sense if you kind of listen to it. It's a super simple process. I just try to break it down as detailed as possible. Another thing, I never use a brush. Why? Because a brush clumps the hair together. A comb helps keep the hair spaced and in its section. So I want to keep the hair spaced. A brush is basically good for waving. When you wave your hair up, what you're doing is you're compressing the curl to make that wave lay down. I want that hair to fall straight down so that it can stay in its groove and I can get a nice smooth blend. Now, you see, after I do my debulk and that line is still there, all I have to do now, no guard, is to lightly do a flicking with my wrist, use the corner of the clipper, the whole part of the clipper, and I blend these sections together, right? And I'll break it down again on the sides, but you see how that method helped me create a nice smooth blend or transition, all right? Same thing. Oh, what am I doing with my offhand? You see my thumb. Sometimes what I do is I like to stretch that skin. For one, it tightens the skin up. And for two, when you stretch the skin, along with tightening the skin, it makes a little bit larger workspace so I can blend that. See, and I pour from the top and the bottom, depending on where I'm trying to create that stretch or that space at as I'm transitioning. All right, so yeah, I'm about to do the same exact steps, but I'm about to show you how to execute them on the side taper or along the temple. So let's get to it. All right, so very similar steps. So one thing I want to point out, if you look along that parietal ridge, right? If you look along the temple, it's so much lighter, but then as you go up into the crown or back towards the back of the occipital bone, the back of the head, the hair gets thicker or behind the ear. That's fine. One problem you can run into is when you're debulking towards that secondary line or space. If you debulk incorrectly or too much, you can create a big separation in lightness and darkness, because there's already a difference in lightness and darkness because of the density disparity along the temple and towards the back of the head, if that makes sense. So what I want to do is I want to be very careful, and I may debulk. See where my thumb is. When I remove my thumb, that area is going to be way darker. So when I debulk, sometimes what I may do is I may debulk some of that density out of those areas. Now let's look at the offhand, right? You see how I'm stretching the skin to give myself a tighter workspace. When you tighten that skin, sometimes it's easier for the clippers to run across the surface of the skin to make it easier for you to fade or debulk or whatever you're trying to achieve. So if you see me debulking, I'm very cognitive of that density back there. So I'm watching, see, when I go back and see how I'm debulking some of that mass out so that there's not a large or hard offset between light and dark, which can make my taper look funny or look like it's not faded correctly. So see that? Same thing. I'm taking out some of that mass and debulking. This is where I kind of go off into my tangent, about the ISO and just talk and teach. Sometimes a haircut can be about problem solving. The system never changes, but you have to execute it different at some points. So there's no cookie cutter way. Like I said, this may be like I might have the same teaching method in every video, but I have to do different things depending on what the client comes in with. Density issues, bald spots, like whatever it is. So the biggest part, like I said, excuse me, debugging that, the biggest part of my job is to problem solve, to consult with the client and with myself so that I can understand what needs to be achieved. Now, after I debugged, I'll handle that density issue later, but right now I want to bring the two parts together. So I just want to teach that. I'm going to let you all watch me execute the rest of this haircut. Make sure there's nothing I want to teach. But see, it's all about smooth. You make your job easier by the steps. You do all of that just for this one moment to combine these two areas to bring this fade together. Like I said, what I love about this client is it is the everyday hair texture that you see. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful hair texture, but the density is not perfect, right? I like to show a wide variety of clients and clientele, which you may run into. So if you all have any questions, I know I got to come back, but like I said, if you have any questions about this step or some issues you may have in clients, let me know in the comments. All right, so now it's time for the good stuff. Before I do the edge up, I prep the edge up. I open the guard all the way and do like this tiger claw method. The reason why you want to prep the edge up with a client that has like a fro style cut or something where the hair can hang over the edges, I want to lay the hair on the perimeter of the edge up down as much as possible so that when the client washes or styles their hair, it doesn't lay over the edge up. Very important. Then I come back, follow the natural line up, and then I edge the perimeter or the back of the nape of the neck. Biggest thing with this, stretch the skin, and you also don't want to push the edge up too far in to get a crisp look. Sometimes it may be light, but if you dig into it and you push the edge up back just to create that sharp line, in 3 days it's going to be nasty. The art of it is to try to achieve a haircut that grows back in gracefully. It's like aging. You want to age gracefully, not hard. I don't want the haircut to grow back in with this grow back because I pushed the edge up in. See, the taper looks nice and smooth. Yes, okay. Shameless plug. Shout out to my shave gel coming soon. I'm going to keep saying that until it drop. Very smooth, thick, translucent gel. All right, we get to that later. Now, remember I laid those edges down. I apply the edge up. I apply the shave gel heavy on this edge so that those hairs can lay down. It weighs it down. If you look at my offhand, I'm stretching the skin from the top and the bottom, following the natural edge of. Now, remember I told you he has a stronger temporal muscle. His temple muscle, it kind of protrudes, so those corners kind of stick in. It's like a little valley in the corner. You just want to keep it natural. Sometimes you can find yourself creating a U shape if you're trying to go straight across. You're actually edging down, so that way that'll give the illusion of straight. When you try to edge up a client with stronger temple muscles, like straight across like a regular edge up, it'll actually give it a U shape. So actually edge down or follow the edge up. Then after I get that in, come back with my trimmers and I just neaten and sharpen it up. But again, the biggest point here is to not try to edge back or straight across. You want to slightly edge down because of those temple muscles to give it a nice straight across edge up. Then I come back. Why am I going against the grain? I'm getting those small little pieces of the hair shaft to give it a nice clean look. Same thing around the taper. When you bald out with the razor at the very bottom point and then come back with your trimmer to clean that out, it gives it a nice, beautiful transition. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. If there's anything else that I can help you with, if there's anything you're looking for, please let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to get it out to you. Any questions, let me know. If not, show some love, like, share, subscribe. Let's get these views up and these subscribers going. Take care, and I greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean,
This guy.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Listen.
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
You see it before I showed you the mirror. It's good.
Yeah.
It's like water. I'll let them curls grow in some. How the edge up look?
It looks nice.
Because we was talking off camera. You was talking about how, you know, you got a difficult edge up. So
Yeah, I do.
You
Yeah.
good?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You would think that I cut this guy like 100 times already. This is the first
It's
time.
funny, my head don't look that big.
No, you good. The cut fits you. It looks good.
Yeah. I don't think brush cut fits me because
Yeah, I got you.
yeah.
You got a stronger cranium.
I have a big head.
Now you got a muscular head. You know what I'm saying?